In this video, I'm going to look at a Python program. It's going to read a CSV file that contains the areas of the continents. So it does have a header layer, a header row, and then it gives uh, the, the continents and their areas in kilometers squared, as it says up here. Okay. Um, all right. So I'm bringing in the OS, the operating system module, and I'm using that to make sure that I'm in the right, that my sort of terminal, if you will, is in the right location. So I'm finding the location of file, which is this Python, the actual Python that I'm running, find its location, then get the directory, so strip off the file name, and then set that change directory, set that as the directory that we're working in. So make the working directory the directory that this file happens to be in. And the CSV is right next to it. So then when it comes time to read the file, I could just use the name of the file. Okay. So that's why I have the operating system. I'm going to use the CSV module. This was simple enough. This is a CSV file, but I'm going to, so sometimes I do my own splitting and reading, but this time I decided to do um, to use the module. Okay. The module takes care, it's extra stuff rather than a simple just read and split, but it sort of handles some situations that can arise. And then I'm going to bring in the matplotlib and make a pie chart of these. So let's just run it and show. So I'm reading the file, I'm making a pie chart. It's an exploded pie chart. I will show that. And here's this is like the default color scheme, whatever colors it happened to come up with. And then I decided I wanted more specifically sort of rainbow color. So I wanted to sort of go through the hues and sort of go from, red like through the rainbow and divide it up sort of evenly among the seven continents. And so that is in my next version. So this is the sort of second one, sort of the rainbow colors. And so I was playing around with a list of colors that I sort of generated using the HSV color model. Okay. So that's another thing I will import, but I import that sort of color model sort of further on down. So I didn't completely organize all my imports the way I usually like. All right. I'm not working with anything fancy like an object or a dictionary or anything like that. I'm just going to use that data to populate two lists. And one will be the words and the other one will be the numbers. All right, so I'm opening the file. I am using the CSV. I brought in CSV. So CSV is understood, and then it has a reader method. Uh, you can change the delimiter, but the delimiter here is going to be the comma. And I'm sort of making an array of rows from that, and then the rows will also be lists. So I'm sort of doing two delimiters, delimiting on line, on end of line characters sort of stuff, and also delimiting on the comma. Okay. And then I wanted to skip over the first line. And again, there are other variations, there are other methods in the CSV Reader where I could have turned it automatically into a dictionary where the headers were the keys, and I didn't do that. So I'm just doing the sort of list, the sort of parallel list sort of approach. And I wanted to therefore skip over the header row. And so I sort of, the CSV reader is giving me a list. I'm enumerating that list so that I can identify the first row and skip over it because it's got headers and it's not data. And then I'm appending to the continents, row 1, and appending to the areas, row 1, so the first element and the second element, when you split a row on the comma. And then I am, typically when you parse, it assumes everything is a string. And so I'm casting as a float. I could have cast as an int. I think those are, I don't think there were any fractional parts in my numbers. I just printed them out to make sure I had what I wanted, and then I commented that out. Okay. And then here's my first go at a pi. I am plt pi is the matplotlib's pie chart. You tell it the numbers you want, so that's the areas. Then there is a labels function, and so the continents are the labels. And then to spread that out, I decided I wanted the explode. So the explode is another list, and it's a list of, you don't have to explode everyone out, or you could explode them different amounts out. I decided to explode them all the same amount out, and I didn't want to assume that there were 7 continents, though that's unlikely to change, but I just decided I would use like a list comprehension. And so for every element in the continents array, I'm using, this is a list comprehension in here, and I'm just making a list with a value of 0.1 for every element in my continents list. And so then that's basically a list with seven 0.1s as elements. And then I added a title, and I actually plotted it, and this is sort of modal, so that's when that plot comes up. And so the program sort of waits here in this sort of this modal show. So this is where I'm at right now, and I haven't gotten down that far. And then if I close it, then the code will move on. And I will do my second pie with my rainbow color. So how did I get that? So now I'm bringing in the colorsys module, and I'm going to work with the HSV. The HSV is a color model. I'm going to that module, the colorsys module, has allows me to change to gives me a method that will take HSV values and convert them to RGB values. And that's what I'm doing here. Let me close this Explorer now. And so again, I'm playing list comprehension game. So I'm sort of going over the continents. I have a list. I'm enumerating it, so that gives me access to an index. And so there's my index and I. And I'm going to work with the I, the index, and not with the X. Because I don't care if it's Asia or Africa. I just want some number that I can sort of turn into a color. Okay. And I have this method, HSV to RGB, that comes with this module. And the S is the saturation. So I'm going for very bright, full-on saturated colors. And these are all numbers between 0 and 1. So I'm saying this is the S. I want full saturation. I want full value, which is sort of the brightness. So I want, strong colors, bright, full colors. And then I'm changing the H is the hue. That's the actual color. And I'm changing it. And so that depends on the I. And again, in many of the models I've seen, hue is often a degree and goes from 0 to 360. That's sort of what I'm more used to. But in this module, I brought in the colorsys module. The H is a value between 0 and 1. And so I just took my I and divided by the length of the continents. So I have sort of 0/7 and 1/7 and 2/7. And so I'm moving through my 0 to 1 range sort of in even steps. And so that got me my rainbow. And I printed the colors so you could see down here, I'm changing, this produces sort of a tuple of an RGB tuple, which will be a color. And so I have my HSBs getting converted to RGBs. And so I started off with a red, so that was 100, and then I move around. So I added in some green, which moves me into the like probably the orange colors or something. Um, I just printed the colors to see them, and now I've made my pie again. The areas where the numbers, you always start with the numbers. I'm labeling it with the names of the continents. I am exploding, and now I'm adding in my colors. So the first time I didn't have a color argument and it chose them. Now I'm choosing them, and I use this, again, this list comprehension to choose rainbow colors. And then I added a title and I showed it. And so this is the rainbow color version. Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks for your attention.